to another episode of All Things Ghostly. I don't know why I was so dramatic there. I think I always am, though. It's just who I am. What can I say? Anywho, I am Abbie. Nice to meet you if I haven't met you before. And welcome if this is your first time coming across this fabulous podcast. And also, I did just say across, and I meant across. But we're not going to talk about it, okay? I add a T to things sometimes, apparently. Anywho, this week's episode is very exciting. And do you know why that is? Well, you don't, but I'm about to tell you. I am doing haunted Airbnbs, and the reason why I'm so excited about this is because I've never stayed in an Airbnb, so I don't have a reason to be scared. Now, if I ever have to stay in an Airbnb, we might have to have another discussion. However, as of right now, I've never had to, so let's just jump into some of these stories. It's definitely gonna be fun. I haven't read the details of all of these, just kind of made sure that they're good and juicy stories to be read, but I'm excited to get into what all these people are saying about staying at a haunted Airbnb, because I'm sure similar to a haunted hotel, it's like, well, we can't just leave. This is our place to stay. So I'm curious to see what these people are saying. But before we get into that, happy 20th episode to All Things Ghostly. Yes, we made it to 20 full episodes. It doesn't even feel like it's been that long. Like, I started at the end of last October, and it's just been such a fun little ride, and I've been enjoying it so much. So I hope that those of you who are along for the ride have enjoyed it as well. So yeah, happy 20th episode to us, guys. It's a milestone, believe me. Also, another big announcement that I just wanted to say up front. We got together the freaking username on TikTok to be All Things Ghostly instead of All Things Ghostly Podcast. So if you do follow me on TikTok, which if you don't, you should, it is now All Things Ghostly. We got rid of the podcast, guys. We did it. I literally was so happy because randomly just a couple of days ago I checked to see what would happen like if I tried All Things Ghostly again, and it worked, and I was like, oh my god, this is my moment to shine, because All Things Ghostly Podcast was just way too long for my liking. But anywho, so I just thought I'd tell you guys about that as well. So we are going to go ahead and jump into the stories now. All the websites that I'm using will be linked in the description box. We do have a couple of Reddit stories, which is going to be the majority of what we read. And I'm not going to link those, but I will go ahead and give a shout out to the Reddit users that wrote them. Okay, so this first story is on a website called ksat.com. It looks like some sort of like news website. So yeah, that'll be linked. But it's called I Stayed at a Haunted Airbnb for 2 nights and This Is What Happened. To some, staying in a haunted hotel or house is a bucket list experience, but when I found out my friends booked an Airbnb in a building that used to be a psychiatric hospital, all I could think was that some ghosts were going to visit me at night. I was heading to Traverse City, Michigan to attend the wedding of a friend from high school. Oh, I love that. And I was staying with a group of friends. My friend who booked the accommodation slyly told me a week before the wedding that the condo was in an old psychiatric hospital that was renovated and that it may or may not be haunted. Love a good surprise haunting. I would be pissed, but a little bit happy if it was sprung upon me, just because I like haunted shit, but then I'd be like, why the fuck didn't you tell me so I could prepare myself? Anywho, as someone whose heart rate goes up when I even think about going inside a haunted house for fun, I immediately started to panic. All I could think about was the season of American Horror Story that took place inside an insane asylum. For those who love watching paranormal TV shows, this would be such a fun place to stay. The place used to be called the Traverse City State Hospital, but it is now called the Village at Traverse City Commons. I didn't do too much research on the place because I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole and freak myself out, but when I pulled up on a gloomy late summer day, I couldn't help but feel like I was walking into a very haunted building. As you can see in the photo above, this place just looks straight up creepy. The tall towers, the big windows, and the faded brick make it seem very ominous. On the inside, however, you would have no idea the building used to serve as a hospital. Sure, the walls are all brick on the basement level, but it's full of cute little shops, coffee shops, and restaurants. I love that. Like, I feel like I'd be living my best life here, no? Well, we'll see about the ghosts later. The condo we stayed in was absolutely gorgeous too. It was on the top floor, it had giant ceilings, and was completely renovated. I actually wanted to move in when I first got there. After having an incredible dinner in the basement of the building, and it just says if you're ever in Traverse City, you'll definitely want to eat at Trattoria Stella. I don't know if I said that right. It was time to go to bed, which was the moment I'd been dreading ever since arrival. I'm not ashamed to say this, but the first thing I did when I got in my room was burn some dried sage. There you go, girl. You gotta make sure your ass is protected against the evil. Anywho, I don't know why I'm always saying anywho now. It's kind of strange, but I've started doing this a lot in my life. I was probably overreacting, but whatever. I wanted to let any bad spirits know that I was not messing around. My room was basically a loft, so it kind of felt like I was in the attic of the condo, which spooked me a little bit. My room was also pitch black, and once I heard a creak after I shut my eyes, I of course slept with the lights on for the rest of the night. I would have to, girlfriend. I definitely would have to. It sucked, but it was the only way I was going to get some rest without freaking myself out. I did the same thing the second night, mostly knowing that there wasn't going to be a scary spirit coming to haunt me in my sleep. When I got home, I finally did some research and learned that the hospital was a very positive place and wasn't something out of a horror movie. Well, that's good at least. But still, the thrill of knowing that there could be any kind of supernatural spirit is pretty enticing for those who live for these kind of things. So if you need somewhere to stay or just visit and take a tour of, I could not recommend the Village at Traverse City Commons enough. If anything, you'll have a fun story to tell about how you stayed in a haunted hotel. But she doesn't actually talk about the ghosts at all. She doesn't even say if she ran into anything. She just kind of says that she was spooked out by the place. So that's a little anticlimactic. Where is the details? I am left gobsmacked because I don't know what happened to you. So I guess maybe she didn't encounter any ghosts, because I feel like if she did, it would have included that. But anywho, let's move on to more thrilling stories now. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and start with our Reddit stories now. And this first one is... I'm dead. I didn't look at the username before this, but it's user boob5150. We love a good boob. Anywho, and it's just called A Haunted Airbnb. This is my first post on Reddit ever. I literally downloaded this app just to make a post about it because it's been eating at me. It'll be lengthy, but pretty damn worth it, I think. You better not let me down like the other one did. I'm telling you. So last year around November, I think, my girlfriend and I went to Indiana to visit her family. This was the first time ever going out there, so we found this cheap, nice little place. I don't know if I should release exact details on the house, but I can later on if it's not going to be an issue. Anyways, the house looked like as though an old couple had lived there and left at the tail end of the 90s. VHSs, wood panel walls, generic 90s senior decor, the whole nine. Everything seemed normal. We get out there late on a Thursday or Friday. I forget because I was up since 11 p.m. the night before, worked till 7 a.m., then drove 13 hours to Indiana. As you can imagine, we were exhausted. So we get everything in the house. I plug my phone into charge. At this point, we realized this place is in the middle of absolutely nowhere. There was no ambient noise, which kind of geeked us out. I put on a white noise app, set an alarm for the morning, and passed out. You with me yet? Okay, good. This is where the fun begins. I had a dream then about being surrounded by a few friends standing around a door that led to a basement. All I remember in the dream is somebody opening the door to this basement, and I heard a repeating voice saying "get out" over and over as my friends went down the pitch black basement stairs. I then woke up when I physically heard a loud "get out." I wake up freaked the fuck out. My girlfriend is passed out cold. I basically pass out from being scared. Damn, that's a very intense scene to paint right there. I wake up a couple hours later, brush off what happened as just a part of my dream, take a piss, okay, TMI, check my phone, see that it's charging and at almost full battery. I have a Note 9, by the way, so my battery life was amazing. Good to know. It was like 4 a.m. I'm laying in bed then, staring up at the bathroom, looking at the shadow of the door from the light in the bathroom. So you're staring up at the bathroom? Shouldn't you be staring over at the bathroom? Anywho, we're not correcting grammar. Suddenly, the shadow spins as if somebody walked in front of it. Yet again, basically scare myself to sleep. How does that happen? I can't scare myself to sleep. I would not be able to sleep if I was scared, but that's a talent that I wish I could have. We wake up, roll over to each other, and we both look at each other wide-eyed. The white noise app wasn't playing anymore. I'm like, what the absolute hell? I get up and my phone is dead. Here the charger was pulled out of the wall ever so much that it was still in the wall, but not far enough to charge. I speak nothing of the night before because I know my girlfriend. We'd be sleeping in my Jeep for the next 5 days. So that day we go to the store to get food for the week, come back, and I run to the bathroom. After I come out, I can't find my girlfriend. Here, she's out in the garage. There was no mention of the garage in the Airbnb. I come out there and there are 2 air mattresses fully filled with air, a mudroom door that's nailed shut, and another door. A door I believe goes into the basement. I'm standing by the door that goes into the house when my girlfriend goes to open the door. I told her to not open the door. Like, I'm standing saying, seriously, don't open that fucking door, because I just had a bad feeling. She opens it anyways and slams it shut quicker than she opened it. I could instantly feel a cold, heavy pressure in the room pass by me. We both look at each other completely pale. She looks at me and says there's a bunch of lights on down there. Like, it was so bright she couldn't see the bottom of the steps. So we were pretty quiet, probably a half hour following that. We don't say anything else about it. The rest of the time we were in the house, I was on edge, like constantly looking out of my peripheral. Following that, whenever I was standing in the kitchen looking 90 degrees or so from the living room, I would quick catch a white figure in on the couch and like snap my neck to see what it is. The guy or the person writing this is literally like, there's a lot of empty words here. Like, I feel like I'm having to fill in a lot. So sorry if I'm like stopping and starting a bunch. But anywho, nothing else really intense happened while we were there other than feeling. See, like, other feeling is what he says. And that's other than feeling. Anywho, other than feeling very uneasy the entire time and having a few moments when we just felt like we had to move to a different room because the energy changed so deeply in the room we were currently in. One thing I did was take notice of what lights I left on and what doors I left open to certain rooms. I noticed that every time we came back, there was different lights on and different doors opened and closed. Odd. But my girlfriend and I didn't say anything about what we saw or what we felt or my dream until after we left the house for good. At that point, she told me that she would see a black figure of a man in the same place I saw a white figure, which I felt was a woman. She also felt the heavy pressure leave the basement. She was also intensely drawn to the basement and wanted to go back down. Honestly, the most messed up stuff started to happen when we got home, so something followed them. We're both 99% certain that whatever was in that house followed us home. Give me a little time, I'll post what happened once we got home and some separate comments under this. Things have been happening pretty consistently up until the last maybe 3 weeks. It's been pretty quiet lately, but we're about due for a flare-up again of activity. I'll post what's happened to her, what's happened to me, and what's happened while we've been around each other at the same time. Okay, so here is the update, and obviously this is a classic case of like some sort of an attachment. Obviously something followed them home, so this is what he says after the post. So I'll continue on with what's happened to me since we've come back. Sorry it's taken a little while. I got home from work and just straight up passed out within minutes. This guy loves to sleep. I don't know why I'm feeling guy energy from this. I could completely be wrong, but that's why I keep saying he, which I shouldn't be doing. Anywho, nothing really happened for the first couple weeks. We didn't really put any thought into that maybe the spirits or whatever there could follow us. It was probably 2 weeks after we got home I noticed the first odd thing. I was sitting at my girlfriend's house by myself. Her mom had taken the dog for a ride to go pick up my girlfriend's brother. My girlfriend was on her way home from her work. Her dad was at his friend's house. The only things home were her 5 cats and a bunny. I'm sitting in her room on her couch. Across from, on the other couch, is a huge teddy bear. No word of a lie, this freaking thing ripped ass at me. What the fuck? Like, okay, I'm sorry. I gotta stop laughing. Like, it was the most distinct sounding fart I've ever heard. Naturally, I laughed because I'm sorry. Naturally, I laughed because I thought it was the dog until I remembered there was no dog there. A fucking ghostly fart? Who are we here? Like, who is this ghost? So I checked all over the room and not even the cats were in there. Pretty weird, but comical nonetheless. I mean, it got me laughing, and that's saying a lot. So then comes the following weekend. I'm again at my girlfriend's place. We ran and got pizza at some place near her. Now a little background. She lives in the woods, like nobody around type of woods. We pull in her driveway, shut off the car, and I go to get out. All I hear is this distinct voice say my name. It was very obviously a woman's voice. I stopped dead in my tracks and I asked my girlfriend if her mom was outside. She was asleep inside. My girlfriend didn't hear it. She can tell I was a little bugged out. Since then, when I was trying to sleep, at any time I would just feel this energy or presence walk into my room, almost like a static in a sense, and you could feel it walk through my doorway and up next to my bed. It absolutely freaked me the fuck out for months, but for some reason, I always felt this presence was a woman, an older or mature woman at that. I instantly think back to the figures I saw in that house in Indiana, a white figure of what I thought was an older woman sitting on the couch. This is when I started to realize realize that whatever was in that house came back with us. So a month or two goes by and nothing odd happens to me directly outside of the unsettling feeling whenever I try to sleep. I work night shift and my house has a weird garage door. Sometimes it closes all the way, sometimes it randomly stops halfway. Well, one particular day I remember closing it and watching it close all the way. I woke up at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. that night before work. I went down to my garage to take some pictures of car parts I was selling. I walk into the garage and every light is on. The door is fully open and nothing was taken. I called my mom and asked if she was at home at all. She hadn't been home since before I was even home. I could instantly feel that same presence that I felt when my girlfriend opened that basement door, just a very heavy pressure. A couple days ago, I noticed my mom must have been picking up on things. One of my kitchen cabinet doors was open when I came home from work. She walked out to the kitchen and she was white and asked if I opened that. So she was like ghostly white, like pale. I said no. She looks at me pale as fuck and says, I know I closed that door. She hinted that some weird shit was going on, but has never told me anything else. I kind of don't want to ask, honestly. I finally shook that feeling of something next to my bedside, though. Around March, my grandfather passed away. Very sad. Sorry to hear that. I kept some of his ashes in a silver bullet that I wear as a necklace. Actually, I had one of those when my dad passed, but it was a necklace, but I only wore it for like a month after he died. Oh my gosh, I am the worst person in the world. That was not my dad. That was my childhood dog. Am I actually stupid? Okay, my bad. That was a little bit bad to mix up your dad and a dog. Anywho, but I had one of those for my dog and I only wore it for like a couple weeks when I was young. But anywho, let's move on now. Whenever I would feel that presence coming around me, I would clutch the silver bullet and I could feel the presence back off. Not too long after that, we tore up the flooring of my basement and my house. Following that, I could feel some energy in my downstairs when I would be down there, regardless of time of day. My girlfriend feels it too. I didn't put much more thought into it until one day when I was leaving for work. I looked down my steps and saw a black figure peeking from around the corner of the downstairs. Since then, I haven't really experienced anything else happening to me. My girlfriend, though, has experienced even more. I'll get to that one separately here as I get a chance. Now we're on to his third segment of the story. I had a touch of food poisoning yesterday and I forgot to type the other part out, LOL. Well, it's been 4 years ago, so I'm assuming your food poisoning is gone. Anywho, so he's basically saying he's just going to tell his girlfriend's side of it, and what happened to her. So she still lives with her parents and older brother who has some conditions mentally, along with all the animals I described earlier. Don't we all? The night that the teddy bear straight up ripped ass at me, I'm not over that, and I don't think I ever will be. She told me something else happened that day. Earlier on in the day, she heard the sound of somebody jumping on the bed in her brother's room above her. She yells up to him to stop, and the noise stopped. After she left to go to work later on, she called her mom and said that everything was good at the house except her brother was jumping on the bed again. Her mom tells her that her brother had been gone with his social worker. I guess that's the technical term, since like 7 a.m. So nobody was home other than her. The dog was in bed with her, and the 5 cats jumping on a bed is not going to sound like her brother jumping. So following that, she's at work. I'm just heading up there at this point, and it's over an hour drive. Her mom was in the living room when she heard this huge bang from my girlfriend's room. She goes running in to find that her shelf that had been up for months had collapsed with nothing more than a PS4 and a coaster on it. What was weird is you can see where it was forcibly ripped out of the wall instead of it just not being anchored right in the studs. That geeked her mom out pretty good for the night. I thought geeked was like a good term. I think he's meaning freaked, but moving on. Because I feel like geeked is like, I'm geeked up about this, you know? Anywho, so a week or two goes by. I work night shift from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and I get a text from my girlfriend super late at night. She texts me and tells me that in her room, which is pretty dark other than the light from her TV, she can see a shadow figure in her room by her bedroom door, like a blacker silhouette of what she feels is a man. She said she could feel the energy in the room get almost electric, like how I felt after I came home from there. At that point, we both knew whatever it was came back with us and that it might have been more than one spirit. She has seen this figure on and off for weeks, sometimes even outside of her house. While it scared the absolute shit out of her, it started to get over the top after a few weeks. Suddenly, she could feel hands on her at night. Do not touch me. Like on her legs, stomach, even her hair. Just a short, quick touch as though you poked or brushed against her. This happened at any time of the day. though it did in fact stop after one evening. One night while I was staying over, we could both feel the energy come into the room. I told her previously that I'm not just gonna let some ghostly energy cop a feel of my girlfriend. Well, it did again. No bullshit, I got up out of the bed. She says she could see him. I couldn't, but I knew where to look. Well, against probably all the better judgment in the known universe, I told this shadowy figure to basically pound all the sand right back to wherever it came from. In my defense, I was woken up at 3:30 a.m. after being up for 20 plus hours, and I mean, I wasn't having any of that. Ironically, this was all before the real activity started happening at my house, so I guess it got me back there. So after that, my girlfriend would keep hearing people call out her name from time to time when nobody was around. She would see things out of the corner of her eye once in a while too. I still catch things out of the corner of my eye once in a while too. Nothing serious happened until after her grandma was diagnosed with cancer. Cancer fucking sucks. After that, they started clearing out an extra bedroom that had mostly been storage because they were going to move her back to PA to stay because she's big into marijuana for her pain, and we have medical here. Period, bitch. One day while I was on the phone with her, I could hear something bang in the background of the call. It came from that room. How do you tell that though? Like, over the phone? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not doubting you. I'm not doubting you, but I'm just saying. A small jewelry dresser, I guess you could call it. So I guess he means like it's probably the dresser. I don't know. Anyway, probably stood about 3 to 4 foot tall. They both just left the room a couple minutes before and closed the door behind them. No animals were in the room. This dresser fell over. Nothing was around it. It stood very sturdy. Not only did it fall, but it had been flipped onto its top. Wow. Physically, no way that an animal could even have done that. The thing weighed probably 30 pounds or so. Naturally, she freaked out about that. That sure as shit freaked me out too. She still kept hearing voices, and she kept hearing things in that room. Some old toys would randomly play in there, but that could have possibly been the cats too. Now, right around this point, I lost my grandfather, so the few weeks following were a blur, and I don't remember offhand if she told me about anything else that happened. But as of the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we haven't experienced any more activity after one last event. A few weeks ago, we were at my garage pretty late working on my Subaru. That's fun to say, Subaru. Anywho, I had her and her cousin working on the physical car while I was tearing down my engine. So you can imagine I had the impact going. This was about 1 to 2 a.m. My garage is in the middle of nowhere, and the owners recently split, so nobody was staying in the house that sat on the property. I was using the impact when I could hear this yo, yo, yo yelling from outside. I stopped and looked out both the front and rear of the place because I was sure as shit somebody was there telling me to cut the shit. Nobody, not a soul, well, maybe a soul, but not a body. This happened 3 more times until I told them to pack it up and go home. The next night we come down to get further along. I heard it once again. My girlfriend wasn't feeling great and decided to go sit in her car. She came back after a few minutes and said she didn't want to sit out there. She wouldn't tell me why. After I was done, I had to run home to get some stuff. Before we got there, she told me that she felt like it was something in the back of the car. I could actually feel something behind me, like it was breathing ever so lightly on my neck and then would switch to her. I shined my flashlight back there, nothing. She said she could see a figure moving across the back seat a few times. We get to my house. I run in. She's visibly scared, so I make it quick. As I'm in there, she's texting me to hurry. I get my shit together as fast as I can and run out. She had the music blasting. She said even with the music on 10, she could keep hearing the voice telling her, get out, get out, get out, over and over. The same thing I heard in my dream at that house. As of right now, that's the last of the activity that's been happening. I'm expecting it to flare up again soon because it does that, it seems. You guys have been great. Sorry I haven't gotten back to many people. I'm still just kind of getting the feel for this platform, and I've been stupid busy the last few days. I'll definitely update this if anything happens. We're expecting to go back to Indiana, but not that house in July. We might make a drive by though, and this has been 4 years ago, and I don't see any more replies, so that's probably where it ended. So that was definitely a very intense haunting. I would say that that spirit probably wasn't very happy with something, and then it attached itself to them and unfortunately followed them home and kind of pulled their leg a couple of times. It doesn't really seem like the most friendly ghost. I mean, it seems as if it was set out to scare them, like not just exist, but it seemed like it wanted to scare them. Although it didn't do anything super malicious, it definitely felt like a spirit that wanted to get the reaction of, fear out of them. So the next Reddit post is by user Will125150, and it's called Haunted Airbnb Cabin, which I love a spooky cabin. Definitely gonna do a video on haunted cabins eventually, because them shits can be real spooky. They're out in the woods mostly. They're like isolated, I feel like, so definitely gonna be doing that. About a year ago, I got an Alaskan Malamute puppy. I don't know if I'm saying that right, so sorry. I was excited to have a dog. I wanted to go hiking with him, camping, travel. It was fall in Iowa, so it can get pretty cold for camping, so I decided to start researching cabin rentals. I found an amazing cabin in Wisconsin on Airbnb. It was fully loaded, very secluded in the middle of the woods. That's how the spirits get you. Had a hot tub, internet, pool table, great kitchen. This cabin was so beautiful, and it was pretty cheap to rent. The first time I had visited this cabin, it had been great. It was just me and my dog. I relaxed, we went hiking, I cooked a great dinner, and I slept pretty well. I only stayed one night, just a quick getaway on my day off from work. After getting home, I told my friend Martha about this great cabin, and she was eager to want to take a trip up there with me. We decided to go up the night before Halloween. Y'all set yourself up for spookiness. Let's just cut to the chase. You wanted this to happen. You knew. We took off, just Martha, my dog, and myself. That night we had a blast. We drank, cooked dinner, chilled in the hot tub, then decided to watch scary movies since it was so close to Halloween. I was pretty drunk, but when I was standing in the kitchen, I could have sworn I seen Martha run down the basement stairs, which were right off from the kitchen where I was standing. Then I looked over into the living room, and Martha was sitting on the couch watching the movie. I was so freaked out, but again, I was drunk, so I kind of just blew it off. We both ended up passing out late, and nothing too exciting happened. What happens the next morning is what made me a solid believer in the paranormal. Wow, that's a big moment, like the confirming moment that you believed in the paranormal. I was actually sort of a skeptic when it came to ghosts. I had some experiences that were weird, but I could somehow justify it as something else, so I always had doubt in the back of my mind, but that morning we were pretty hungover. We ate a little breakfast, then decided to go sit in the hot tub, so I decided to lock my dog in his crate, and we went outside in the tub. It was so magical because it was literally Halloween and it was dumping down snow. That's very interesting. I've never heard it put like that. It's dumping down snow. We sat in the hot tub for maybe 15 minutes. I could have swore I heard a bang inside the cabin and my dog was barking at something. We got out and ran inside to the kitchen since it was so cold. Then we literally froze in our footsteps. The entire kitchen was tore apart. All the cabinets were open. The refrigerator door and the top freezer door were open. The bar chair were all flipped onto their backs. Drawers were open. Pans were thrown off the shelves. Martha's phone was charging on the counter and it was unplugged on the floor. Same with the other guy. So they like to unplug phones. I'll keep mental note of that. I have no other explanation than paranormal. My dog looked terrified, but there is no way he tore the kitchen apart, especially like opening doors and stuff like that, like the top freezer and stuff. No way. He was still a puppy, so he wasn't that big, and he was still locked away in his crate. I mean, that too, I forgot about it, him being locked up. But before we went outside, the kitchen was a little messy from our night before, but nothing like what we walked into. The kitchen was trashed. I know Martha didn't do it because we both went outside at the same time. There was also no way someone broke into the cabin to do it. We were in the middle of nowhere, and it was snowing, so there would have been footsteps. And the hot tub sat right next to the long driveway leading to the cabin, and we would have seen someone drive up for sure. I just have no other explanation on why that happened. So now I'm a believer, and so is Martha. We've got Martha on board too. I'm sure my dog saw some crazy stuff. We left pretty soon after this happened, and believe it or not, I actually stayed in this cabin again, okay? Multiple times, and nothing ever happened again. Maybe Halloween stirred up the spirits, and they just wanted to be heard or seen in some way. Maybe I really did see a ghost the night before as well. Who knows what crazy things have happened in this cabin? It's very old. And then she just makes a note that says, I checked dates available to book this summer, and it's literally booked out all the way until the end of September. It must be pretty popular. I noticed it's available on Halloween again. Should I book it? And this was 2 years ago, so I know this doesn't matter, but I hope she booked it. I don't see any comments from her as an update, but that is crazy. But also, there is a type of ghost, which I did a video of spirits versus ghosts and different types of hauntings, but I can't remember what this type was called, but where it will show as a similar person, like a doppelganger situation almost. So It's very possible that, yes, that ghost that ran down the stairs looked like your friend Martha, but it definitely probably was a ghost, considering Martha was not running down them steps. You know what I mean? But that is a valid type of ghost I've read about before. Anywho, that's a pretty cool story, simply because, again, she's been back so many times, or they've been back so many times, and they haven't experienced anything else. So again, it might have been just Halloween, but maybe it was the spooky mood that kind of brought out the spirits. I don't know, but that is definitely very interesting that you've never had another experience. All right, we got one more Reddit story, and it is by user ABSML1994, and it is called Haunted Airbnb in Lower Appalachia. I think that's how you say it. I could be wrong. I'm bad with knowing how to pronounce things when I know multiple ways of pronouncing them, because I always want to like say the right pronunciation, but that's not really how English works. Like, there's so many right ways of saying things. So anywho, it says, okay, so for this story, I will refer to my friends as bridesmaid of honor and niece, because this was a bachelorette trip. Ooh, I love that. So it will be a year in March. My friends and I went to Chattanooga, Tennessee to celebrate my childhood best friend's marriage. It was a beautiful house on the Tennessee River, very private and peaceful atmosphere. It was on a nature trail, so it felt very isolated, though it was close enough to the city for us to go out and have fun. Anyway, we all had a great time in the city, then came back and started a fire in the fire pit. We hung out until we all got tired and eventually went to bed. We all decided to bunk in the same room that had 3 double bunks and 1 full bed. It was a large room, and we thought we could all watch a movie together in there, but ended up all deciding we needed to sleep to drive back the next day. As my friends are used to falling asleep early, I am not, so I was still wide awake, so I got on my phone and started scrolling. I know, bad habit, but I had no other options of reading a book or anything. Girl, we all got that bad habit. We are scrollers in this generation. So as I'm laying there, I get this feeling, and it's not a good feeling. I've had one paranormal experience before this, and it didn't make me feel scared. I just felt confused. This was different. I felt my hair stand up, like that feeling of something with ill intent was near me. I looked up at the other bunks. My friends looked fine. So I continue scrolling. Then I get the feeling again. I look up, and this time I look toward the full-size bed where the bride and her little niece, who tagged along, was. I see a dark figure, head bent, looking down at the niece. My heart stopped. I could not move. I kept thinking to myself, it's just a shadow from the stairway light coming in the room. I look down at my phone and get the courage to move my thumbs to text my boyfriend how scared I was, which didn't help considering he's not a believer of anything that's not nature, so he just says you're just seeing things. After this, I look up and the figure is gone, which did not make me feel better, only worse, because it only confirmed what I saw was not in fact a shadow from the light in the stairway. So I jumped from my bunk and bottled upstairs and crashed on the couch. I felt like a small child who just watched a horror movie. I kept hearing what sounded like creaking from the stairs. I thought of the old phrase, it's just the house settling. Low-key, my mom used to say that all the time. To calm myself, then called my boyfriend, and he talked me down, and I thought he's probably right, but I was still shaken up. Eventually, I fell asleep around 4 a.m. when the creaking stopped, but woke up around 6 and got the courage to go downstairs to get into my bag for clothes. A few minutes later, the maid of honor comes up, and she looks confused and kind of freaked out, then says, hey, did the bride come up here at all? And I said, when? Because I only got 2 hours of sleep, and I've been up since 6. She then says, well, I mean about that time. I thought I saw her up and go up the stairs. I said, no, she didn't come up here. She says, well, I know I saw someone go up the stairs. Her face was white, and I said, did you check the bed? She then goes back down and looks and says in confusion, she's in bed. So I just stood up in confusion, all this confusion going on, and said, well, what time did you say you saw her again? And she said, well, only a couple minutes ago. It's just 6:05. And I said, maybe you just heard me. I've been up here since last night. And then she goes, well, I thought I saw someone standing between their suitcases and the bed over her niece. That's when my heart dropped, and she knew I didn't have to say anything. My face said it all. She knew I saw it too. Needless to say, we were happy to get out and not investigate. my mind would be too curious. I'm like, you're already leaving anyway, might as well get some answers. I felt guilty that I didn't stay downstairs with them to make sure they were okay after she confirmed what I saw. However, I was convinced that it was just my anxiety, and my boyfriend being very skeptical made me think maybe I was overreacting, but the look on my friend's face of pure confusion and fear confirmed it. I don't know if it's related, but a few months later, I learned one of the supposed most haunted places in Tennessee, Hales Bar, I don't know if that's a city or whatever, is located just 2 miles on the river from this location. Also, there was this really old cabin from the 1800s they had decorated for looks on the property, and it definitely had some weird vibes too. It didn't help that they had these old pictures inside of it of the owners. I wish I remembered the name so I could see if they had any correlation to the Hales Bar Mariana, I don't know. But that's it. So just like crazy ass hauntings in these Airbnbs. And again, I feel like the common theme here is that none of these people really wanted there to be a haunting. Like, they were all very unsettled by it. So obviously I feel like that's most people. I know that a decent amount of people are interested in the paranormal these days, but I feel like the majority of people are like, yeah, probably stay away from me with that shit. But I'm glad that, you know, nobody got hurt, nobody got cursed. Maybe that one person that had the ghost follow them back, the couple, but they didn't get hurt, they just kept getting scared. So let's make sure that keeps happening, ghosties. I feel like the majority of ghosts, they want to get reactions, maybe. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about these haunted Airbnbs, though. I'd be curious to see what you're thinking about them. But I definitely think it's really cool. I think that I would be very scared to be in these situations, especially if I wasn't prepared and like I had a bunch of people with me. But yeah, definitely you don't always expect the paranormal to come when it comes. But yeah, anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you follow my TikTok. We've got a new and improved username. It's at allthingsghostly. I post a bunch of stuff on there. I post some get ready with me's and some like sneak previews of what the episode is going to be and little like clips from the episode. So if you don't have time to like watch the episode, you can always go there and see those little TikToks there. And then I do also have an Instagram. I've stopped posting on it because it's just dry AF. Like, I feel like Instagram is just not my favorite place to post stuff for the podcast, but I do have that. It's at allthingsghostly. And make sure you guys send in your stories. Again, I have not accumulated any stories for your guys' stories, but I would like to do an episode on the viewers' experiences. So there are 2 different ways that you could send in your stories, which will always be in the description box of wherever you're watching or listening. The first way is to email the at allthingsghostlybusiness@gmail.com email. Or I did make a little Reddit community page where you can also submit stories, which again, that's linked down below. And it's just, I'm pretty sure if you search All Things Ghostly, you'll find it. My username on there is also All Things Ghostly, but it's the community page and you can post your stories there as well. So definitely do that. And I will talk to you guys in my next episode. I'm trying to do this thing where I don't continue to say, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed. And I feel like I just want to say it over and over again. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. What do you want me to say? Anywho, but yes, I will see you guys in my next one. I miss you guys already. What can I say? I'm addicted to ya. But anywho, yes, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night if you for some reason watch this before bedtime. And I will see you guys later. Goodbye.